What is up, guys? Happy Monday. Welcome to another episode of the Fantasy Fellow Show. My name's Kyle. In this video, Week 14 post-game notes. We're going to be going over all Week 14 games so far. We do have a Monday Night Football game starting probably in the next 10-15 minutes or so, but we're going to cover everything that's happened so far this week. If you guys do have questions or anything, I will get to those at the very end of the video, but I do want to stay on track and just cover all the games and share with you guys my post-game notes. So this is a members exclusive article here, and I'm trying to get more awareness to the membership page and show people what's a weekly feature that they could find relevant and useful for fantasy. So I do upload a PDF of these every week as well, and this is what it looks like. We had 6 teams on bye, so it was a big bye week, and we're going to go game by game, starting with the Thursday Night Football game last week. The Lions 34, the Packers 31. It was a good game, not the best game, on the Packers side here. They could have played a little bit better, and they gave the Lions a nice fight there at the end. But basically, we logged the snaps, the routes, and then I put the fantasy data in here and give you guys their PPR number. And, we learned some things. In this one, the Lions didn't really do anything differently. Amon-Ra still running the snaps and routes. Jameson Williams still running the number 2 snaps and routes, both getting a ton of targets. The thing to note here maybe is Tim Patrick really locking himself in as the wide receiver 3. They did lose Khalif Raymond to IR maybe a week or so ago, and it's been Tim Patrick for the last month or so. He's been playing pretty well. He gets the 2 touchdowns, 7 targets, 6 for 43. Really good game from Tim Patrick. Now, I don't really like starting the 3rd or 4th target, on a team. He's going to be up and down, but he's worth maybe taking a look at deeper leagues. Sam Laporta playing better from his first half woes of the year and his little mini injury. He's back to being, a fringe tight end 1, 5 for 54 in the game. And then the Jahmyr Gibbs, Dave Montgomery split here. We see Gibbs playing more in this one, 45 snaps, 36 for Montgomery. Both featured as a receiver, which is something we really haven't seen a lot out of Jahmyr Gibbs this season. So I was very pleasantly surprised for that. Both guys find the end zone, both get 19 PPR points. Really nothing to learn here from the Lions, maybe besides Tim Patrick maybe being a guy worth adding. If we look at the Packers, and no Romeo Doubs in this one. So you see Christian Watson run the most snaps and routes, Dontavian Wicks second in snaps and routes, and Jaden Reed third. This is kind of how the offense is operated all season long, with Jaden Reed being the number 2, number 3 receiver in terms of snaps and routes. Watson just takes the full every down role with Romeo Doubs out, and he looked good doing so. I do think Doubs is probably playing on Sunday Night Football in Week 15, but for the pecking order, if one of these guys misses, this is kind of how it is. I think Romeo is the 1A, Watson the 1B. That's kind of their ace, their number 1 receiver. That's going to be on the field at all times. Wicks and Watson rotate as the number 2 receiver, and then Jaden Reed is their number 3 slot receiver in 3 wide receiver sets. Tucker Kraft played well, 3 for 41 and a touchdown. And then it's still the Josh Jacobs show, 3 rushing touchdowns. Not much to note here. Chris Brooks, though, looking like the backup running back here to own. If anything happens to our guy Jacobs here, he's running the most snaps and the most routes. Looks like Emmanuel Wilson's just purely a breather back here. Chris Brooks would be the guy that I want to handcuff for Jacobs. So not much to learn here from the Packers. Hopefully we get Romeo Doubs back in Week 15. And Jags Titans here. The Jaguars pull it off with Mac Jones at the helm. For fantasy, I hope we're not starting too many Jacksonville guys here. I do think the one guy I can plug in is Brian Thomas Jr. 8 for 86 on 12 targets. Mac Jones knows that he just needs to throw it to him and good things will happen. Otherwise, Parker Washington, Devin Duvernay, I'm not really interested in any other receivers here for Jacksonville. Nothing that I want to start in my fantasy lineups. Tight end, Evan Ingram, second in targets on the day with 6, 4 for 33. He's still, a startable tight end 1. And then the running back split here. Tank Bigsby, 31 snaps, ETN 28 snaps. You see 9 routes for Bigsby, 18 routes for ETN. So it's kind of operating, as like a true first and second down back for Bigsby, third down receiving role for Travis Etienne. This is kind of, to me, looking like a Najee Harris, Jalen Warren type split, where these guys are both going to do what they do really well. Tank Bigsby's going to lead the team in carries. Etienne's going to get the third down short, passing work and things like that. And both guys got there for fantasy. Tank Bigsby gets the touchdown. and he's going to need those to hit double digits most days. But ETN gets there without a touchdown, which is nice to see. 4 for 50 as a receiver. So I do think Bigsby and ETN I'm going to be ranking as low-end running back 2 flexes going forward. And then I don't really want to start Mac Jones. He really hasn't been good. The one game he looked good, nobody used him because he was in relief of Trevor Lawrence last weekend. So I'm not interested in starting Mac Jones. I think it's Brian Thomas, yes, as a wide receiver 3, maybe Ingram, and then think about the running backs here. The Titans, not much is changing with the Titans. It's still a Tony Pollard show. You want to continue starting him. Tajay Spears is fine, but he's not really startable. He's just a bench RB4 kind of thing. And then Levis really struggled in this one. 19 to 32, 168, nothing really working downfield. He tried to hit Calvin Ridley a ton, 12 targets, but 7 for 59. Nothing really clicked for Westbrook-Ikhine. And this is what we get. We either get a touchdown from Ikhine or this is what it looks like, a 1 for 19 kind of line. So I personally don't want to start Nick Westbrook-Ikhine. It's just too boom bust. I think if you're starting Titans going forward, it remains Calvin Ridley. It remains Tony Pollard. You can maybe consider Will Levis in a super flex league, but I just don't really want to rely on anything else in this Titans offense. Jags and Titans, man. Let's probably not needed to win your fantasy championships as the playoffs are going to be starting. Fun game here. Dolphins 32, Jets 26. What do we learn here? It's still Tyreek. It's still Jalen Waddle. They're still letting Malik Washington be the number 3 receiver. There's just not enough volume there. But it's Jonnu Smith who's really emerged here as the number 3 target in this offense and has kind of helped Tua Tagovailoa, and he's helped the other passing receivers get open. Just a game where all 3 of them ate. Tyreek, Jalen Waddle, and I know Jonnu didn't really get it till the end of the game, but he still got his. So Tua's lifting 3 receivers right now, and technically a 4th with Devon Achane and those receptions there. And Achane very much considers still strongly to be a top 5 fantasy running back right now. He's getting all the volume. Rushing game's just not there for Miami, but he's such a good receiving back, and he does get the goal line opportunities. No Raheem Mostert in this one, so Jalen Wright was the number 2 guy, didn't really make anything of his opportunities. And then they are, mixing in Jeff Wilson, a healthy Jeff Wilson again here. So, outside of Achane, you can maybe stash Jalen Wright. I don't know if it's worth holding on to. It's going to take a Achane injury for this to open up, paths for Jalen Wright and Jeff Wilson to be on the field, but we'll monitor that. And honestly, Tua Tagovailoa, the last month, he's been one of the best fantasy QBs going into Houston this week. I think I'm going to rank him probably as a top 10 QB. So I like what the Dolphins are doing. It's good for fantasy, and it's good football right now for the offense. The Jets. Well, nothing really changed here at the receivers. Wilson and Adams both 8. Allen Lazard got back in this one. He's the clear number 3 receiver, but I don't even want to add him in deeper leagues. If Wilson or Adams, one of those guys are out, maybe you can consider Lazard, but he's purely just a wide receiver handcuff at this point. I don't care about Tyler Conklin at tight end. Let him be on the waivers. But the big news here is Breece Hall was out. They used Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis. They split those snaps basically 50-50 in terms of everything. Snaps 37 to 36, routes 22 to 20. They both had 5 and 6 targets. They had 11 and 10 carries. These were split basically down the middle. It looks like Braylon Allen was more productive with his touches by a little bit, and Isaiah Davis does get the touchdown there. So good game for both running backs here. Were startable in fantasy football, and we're really going to have to monitor this Breece Hall situation. If Breece Hall misses time again, I think I'm ranking both Braylon and Isaiah Davis as low-end RB2s, probably somewhere in that, Tank Bigsby, Travis Etienne role, somewhere, around RB30, something in that range here. So we'll see if Breece Hall misses another game. The Jets season's over, guys. So maybe we get one more big game against Jacksonville before they start mixing in some other guys here, but not much to note other than the running backs. And then Rodgers, he played fine. 1 touchdown, 339 yards, one of his best passing days. A lot of volume here for the Jets, but not for fantasy so much the rest of the way. Vikings 42, Falcons 21. This game was close. It was 2021. It was 21-21, I think, going into the fourth quarter, and it just kind of got out of hand there. But the Vikings, man, nothing really changed with this team. JJ is eating. Jordan Addison is eating. Maybe that's the one big change here. He's been going off. I think he's a must-start player at this point just because of the ceilings. Both receivers over 30 fantasy points. That's pretty crazy. Hawkinson, floor game, 4 for 45. You're going to keep rolling him out as your tight end 1. And then Aaron Jones, just another steady RB2 week here, 13 for 73 and a touchdown. He also added some receptions. Cam Akers remains the clear RB2 here. And he should be handcuffed if you have Aaron Jones. I want to have Cam Akers on my team for the fantasy playoff run. And then Sam Darnold, man, there's not much I can say. He was super efficient, great with the deep ball, 5 touchdowns, really making the offense look easy for Minnesota here, and he's back to being a top 10 quarterback here. So huge day for the passing game, and Sam Darnold and the receivers can keep starting TJ Hawkinson and Aaron Jones. The Falcons, it didn't look pretty. The numbers look fine for fantasy. Just a lot of volume here by Kirk Cousins. No touchdowns, though, is what really hurt this team. 344 yards through the air, only no touchdowns, but 2 interceptions for Kirk. Okay floor game, 10 points. I think you take that. But the running backs both hit here, 22 for 92 yards for Bijan and a touchdown. Tyler Algier, 9 for 63 and a touchdown. You're starting Bijan every week, but I think Algier, he does have some low-end flex appeal. He's kind of in that Tank Bigsby mold where you don't know what he's going to get every week, but he does get a touchdown every now and then. Somewhere in the RB30 range is where I'd rank him. And then the receivers here, London, Mooney, and McLeod. All 3 of these guys had a good day for fantasy. London, 5 for 70. Mooney, 6 for 142. And then Ray McLeod looking like a nice slot receiver here, 8 for 98. McLeod should be picked up in fantasy leagues. And then Kyle Pitts, man, we're just not starting him at this point anymore. It's been a frustrating career for Kyle Pitts, and it just seems to be getting more and more frustrating. So start your London, start your Mooney, consider Ray McLeod as a flex, start Bijan, think about Algier. And then Cousins is really only usable in a super flex league. I don't want to whip him out in a 1 QB league. Saints 14, Giants 11. I really don't want to talk about the Saints. The main thing was Kendre Miller was back. RB2 is back here, 10 for 32 and a touchdown. Miller should be picked up and added. He can be a guy that maybe we start down the stretch here. The Saints are starting to swirl down the drain. They just lost Derek Carr to a concussion and a fractured left hand, it sounds like. So I don't know if he's going to miss 1 or 2 games or what. But this offense with Jake Haener next week, I'm not starting anybody on this team besides Alvin Kamara. And even then, I'm not going to be ranking Kamara very highly. He's going to be an RB2 for me. But pick up Kendre Miller. I'm not starting any of these receivers, the tight ends. I do like Juwan Johnson, though, 4 for 50 and a touchdown. He's worth keeping an eye on. But if Jake Haener's the quarterback next week, I kind of want nothing to do with the Saints. And then the Giants, they're going to keep starting Drew Lock, which is fine. But 21 of 49 passing, 227 yards. It's just more of the same here for these guys. They really can't do anything on offense because of poor quarterback play. Keep fighting with Malik Neighbors here, 5 for 79. He's still making good plays. Daniel Bellinger's the tight end 1 with Theo Johnson out for the year, 5 for 45. Don't really want to pick him up, but if he has another big week, we'll talk about it. And then Tyrone Tracy remains the RB1, 16 for 45 and a touchdown. Was effective as a receiver, 5 for 38. So you're starting Tracy, you're starting Neighbors. Other than that, you can maybe whip out Wan'Dale Robinson as a wide receiver 3 flex. He's kind of in that Ray McLeod tier of wide receiver 3 flexes, but otherwise, try and stay away from the Giants if you can. Eagles 22, Panthers 16. Not much to learn here from the Eagles. Dallas Goedert was out, so we see Grant Calcaterra step in, and he plays the full role for Goddard. He played all the snaps, pretty much all the routes. 3 for 16 and a touchdown, though. So not a really high ceiling here for Calcaterra. As long as A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith are healthy, I'm probably not going to add Calcaterra unless I needed a tight end really badly. You can maybe flex him or, stream him in there as your tight end 1. But A.J. Brown, 4 for 43, floor game. Devonta Smith, 4 for 37 and a touchdown. Solid floor game in terms of yards and targets. Nothing changed here. It's still Saquon Barkley's backfield. Jalen Hurts still not really throwing the ball a ton, but he's getting there on rushing. Just a rinse and repeat game from the Eagles. They kind of struggled in Carolina. The Panthers are interesting. Unfortunately, we have to pour one out for rookie running back Jonathan Brooks, who tore the same knee that he tore at Texas. Not sure when we're going to see him back in the NFL. Maybe next year at the end of the year. 2026 is probably the most likely. So congrats. If you have Chuba Hubbard, Chuba's going to remain a potential league-winning running back for us the rest of the way. He dominated all the touches. He was the only one to get touches after Jonathan Brooks went out. So start Chuba. And then we did see Ja'Tavion Sanders come back. I like that. They didn't really throw him out there and get him a lot of volume and things like that, but I'm just happy to see him back after that scary neck injury. Adam Thielen's the real deal, 9 for 102, 11 targets again. I do want to add Xavier Legette because he's getting open, he's getting targets, and they're letting him learn the position. 2 for 39, 8 targets, though. I like that. And then David Moore's kind of like a deep wide receiver 4 guy that I wouldn't mind putting on the end of my bench if I need wide receiver help. But I'm not starting one of the tight ends yet. I do like Sanders for Dynasty. The Panthers are probably going to run up Raheem Blackshear as the RB2, so keep an eye on him in case something happens to Chuba. But otherwise, it's Thielen, and Bryce Young continues to look better each and every week here. So Panthers look good in this one. They played the Eagles pretty tough, much tougher than people would have expected. We're looking at the Steelers 27, Browns 14 here. Not too much to learn from this one. George Pickens was out, and I just don't care about any of the receivers here, like Van Jefferson, Scotty Miller, Calvin Austin, Skowronek. Mike Williams, I guess 3 for 36. He looks fine, but if we're being honest, we're not starting any receiver here not named Pickens. Pat Freiermuth led the way, 3 for 48 and a touchdown in this one. He can be a streamable tight end one if you need help, but I really don't trust that all that much. It's the running backs here. Jaylen Warren led the way, 34 snaps to Najee's 27. A lot of routes for Jaylen in this one, and they both, hit their 9 and 11 point floors that they usually hit. So good game from both Steelers running backs. Russell Wilson didn't have to do much. He wasn't super efficient, but a lot of that's, thrown to some of the receivers that he's throwing to. But he remains I think he's a QB1 rest of the season because he puts up 16 points here without George Pickens, without having to do too much. I like the Steelers offense right now. You're starting Najee and Warren every week. If you have them, you're starting Pickens, and I think Russell Wilson might have entered the top 12 QB tier for me. Not too much to learn from the Browns. We did have Cedric Tillman out again, and we see Michael Wood step right into his role, ran all the snaps and routes that Tillman usually gets. He's just not earning a lot of targets. You got to keep Jerry Jeudy in your lineup right now. He's on a heater, 5 for 64 and a touchdown. Elijah Moore is in that tier of like Ray McCloud, Wan'Dale Robinson types where he's like a low-end wide receiver 4 kind of thing where you can flex him if you need to in PPR. Njoku continues to eat. You're starting him 7 for 42 and a touchdown. And then the running backs here. You got Jerome Ford leading the way with 40 snaps to Chubb's 26. In games where the Browns are behind, you're going to see more Jerome Ford out there catching passes, running routes. And I did notice Ford had 10 carries to Chubb's 11. So they are liking running the ball with Jerome Ford. Chubb just didn't get the touchdown. He's kind of in the Tank Bigsby tier for me where he can get anywhere from 10 to 15 touches, but it truly depends if he gets that touchdown. He's not quite looking like himself. He's a low-end RB2 play. I think I'm probably going to have Jerome Ford in the same area as far as rankings. He's especially in a PPR league, he's going to continue to catch 2-3 passes per game and maybe get the 8 to 12 touches. So something like a Najee Warren split here for the Browns is what I'm seeing. And then Jameis Winston, continues to play whatever for real life football, but for fantasy, he's a solid, strong QB2, a streamable QB1 option for you guys in Superflex leagues. All right, Buccaneers 28, Raiders 13. Not much to learn here. We did get Bucky Irving re-injuring his back in this one, so it led to a big Rachaad White game. 2 touchdowns, 1 through the air, 1 on the ground. He dominated the touches here. Sean Tucker saw a little bit of relief work here, but if Bucky Irving remains dinged up with his back injury, Rachaad White is back to being a top 10, top 12 back. Like this is the volume, this is the workload that he was getting last year, the 15 to 18 carries, the multiple receptions, and he's falling into the end zone. He's one of the best players for Tampa Bay if Bucky Irving is out. Baker Mayfield, good game, efficient game, threw a couple interceptions, but he still gets there with the touchdowns and the yards. You're starting Mike Evans every week. And then I do think, I think Jalen McMillan's worth picking up this week. I don't quite know if I trust him in my fantasy lineups in the playoffs here, but I'm open to adding him to my bench. And then Sterling Shepard, kind of the same thing. I'll put him on my bench. I just don't know if I want to trust these guys in the fantasy playoffs week 1. And then K. Dotton remains a nice low-end tight end 1 here. So good game from the Buccaneers offense. It really spread out, and it looks pretty functional. The Raiders, on the other hand, they lose Aiden O'Connell. He tore his knee up. Ritter comes in. Ritter's going to be probably starting the rest of the year. He looked okay, 12 of 18, 101 yards, a few carries here. But we see the worst game from Brock Bowers in a while, 3 for 49, did get a carry. Jacoby Myers played fine, 7 for 67. You can keep starting Jacoby and Brock Bowers. Like, obviously, you're starting Brock Bowers if you have him. Myers should be a wide receiver 3 for you. Nothing else really works here on this offense. We do need to talk about Sincere McCormick, though, who should be a waiver wire add in this run this week. He leads the team in snaps, 15 for 78 as a runner. He looks good running the football, and he also caught the ball a little bit this time. And he looks like he could be their lead back the rest of the way, much like we saw Zamir White be their lead back down the stretch last year. So pick up Sincere McCormick. Ritter, maybe you can try and Superflex, but that's not really a winning recipe, I think, to get you to a fantasy championship. And hey, good evening, Sport Dog. Let's see what we got here. All right. I made the playoffs, finishing in 3rd place. Week 15 for me will be first week of playoffs, and 16 will be the championship week. Oh, okay. All right. So All of my playoffs start week 15 as well. I have the final four week 16, and then week 17 will be the championship here. So we will be locked in and ready to go this December for you, and we're going to help you get as much stats and info as we can, and lineup advice. So thank you for hanging out with me, Sport Dog. It's been a pleasure hanging out, and I don't know, just seeing everybody have success, man. That's what we do this for. We're going to cover the Seahawks here and the Cardinals 30, Seahawks, Cardinals 18. Not too much to learn here, but Kenneth Walker was out in this one, and Zach Charbonnet was just a boss. 22 carries, 2 touchdowns, 7 receptions, like a massive, massive game from Charbonnet. So any week where Kenneth Walker's out, I probably am not going to be getting any more Charbonnet questions. Like, yeah, start him. He is very capable of being a stud running back in the NFL. And then I will note Kenny McIntosh looked good, 7 for 38 as a runner, 2 for 7 as a receiver. Geno Smith continues to play well, 24 of 30, very efficient. Just doesn't throw a lot of touchdowns. JSN did catch the touchdown on this one, 5 for 82 in a score. Metcalf looked fine, 4 for 49. That's a floor game for him. You're starting JSN every week. You're starting DK Metcalf every week. And then we'll have to monitor Kenneth Walker's health to figure out the running backs. And then I'm just not really interested in the tight ends. You can probably cut Tyler Lockett, honestly, if you have Lockett in a redraft league, maybe even in a dynasty league. I don't really care about holding on to dead weight anymore. It looks like he's just not earning targets in this offense. He's still running, a good amount of routes and snaps, but it's just not coming along for Tyler Lockett anymore. Arizona Cardinals. Kyler Murray looked fine, good passing yards, touchdowns, a couple interceptions, though, really swung the game here. He continues to play as like a solid top 10 QB for fantasy. James Conner had a nice day, 18 for 90 on the ground. He did some work as a receiver. And then Trey McBride, man, continues to just be a beast without scoring touchdowns. 7 for 70 on 14 targets. You're starting Trey McBride every week. And then keep going with Marvin Harrison Jr. He's still getting elite snaps and routes. The targets are remaining up there, 4 for 49, though. That's kind of a floor game, hopefully, going forward for him. He needs those touchdowns to fall into his column to make the big plays. And then Michael Wilson continues to play well as kind of the number 2 receiver, 2 for 57 and a touchdown. The Cardinals need more help at receiver, man. Greg Dortch and Zay Jones aren't really doing much there as the third and fourth options. So nothing really to learn from the Cardinals here. Still hold on to Trey Benson as the handcuff to Connor. But note that DeMercado will be the receiving back if Connor were to miss time. All right, 49ers 38, Bears 13. We'll start with the running backs here. Guerrero was looking like a breakout game happening here, and then he sprains his foot. I don't think he's going to play week 15. I'll look for more information on that, but it looks like Guerrero's going to miss some time. Patrick Taylor is the running back that we want to pick up on waivers this week. He's been in the league for a while with the Packers. It's first year with the 49ers here. He'll be the lead back. Maybe we see Keyshawn Vaughn RB2. They did sign Israel Abanikanda last week as well from the Jets, so maybe they mix him in. But overall, Patrick Taylor, probably the guy you want starting for the 49ers. Brock Purdy looked good, and a lot of that's because George Kittle, 6 for 151 from Kittle. Kittle's having an elite breakout season at this fine age here, so he continues to play really well. You're starting Juwan Jennings every week, but I think Deebo Samuel, man, we might have to shut him down. Like, I don't know if I want to risk starting Deebo Samuel in the first round of the playoffs. I'm starting Jennings over Samuel. You're starting Kittle, and then consider Patrick Taylor. And I think just, not having a big running game for the 49ers heading into Thursday night, I don't know if I'm going to rank Brock Purdy as a top 10, top 12 QB. So I would look elsewhere if I'm using Purdy as my QB1. All right, the Bears, not much to learn here. They continue to use their 3 wide receivers. They continue to use Cole Kmet, but not throw him the ball. And then with no Roschon Johnson in this game, it was Travis Homer, the RB2, but he also got hurt and left early in this one. So it was all DeAndre Swift, who just had, not much going his way, 14 for 38 on the ground. He's kind of turning back into a low-end RB2. Caleb Williams looks fine for Superflex leagues, but I'm not starting him in a 1 QB league. And then it certainly looks like Rome Odunze is gaining some steam here down the stretch. He ran the most snaps up there in routes with the other 2 guys, 4 for 42 and 2 receiving touchdowns. I think the hierarchy going forward is I want to start DJ Moore every week. If I have one Bear, I want DJ Moore every week. And then I would put Odunze as the wide receiver 2, Allen as the wide receiver 3 for this team. I just don't even want to mess with Cole Kmet if I haven't met tight end. I would rather look elsewhere here. So not too much for the Bears here, but it's just starting to go south as the season fizzles to an end. Rams 44, Bills 42. What a game. Everybody got fantasy points in this one. It didn't matter. You started your stud, you got rewarded. Kyren Williams, big game, 2 rushing touchdowns. Blake Corum continues to play well in relief, 8 for 34 on the ground. He's a primary handcuff if he's out there in your leagues down the final stretch here. But Puka Nacua, man, he is one of the best young receivers in the league. 12 for 162 and a touchdown, and they're running the ball with him more. He gets up to 41 fantasy points here in full PPR, and Cooper Kupp continues to look good. So the Rams, it's pretty simple. It's Kupp, Nacua, it's Kyren. And then right now, man, Stafford in this Rams offense, very much like last year, they're starting to get hot at the right time. They're 1 game behind the Seattle Seahawks here. They have a big, showcase game here on Thursday Night Football against the Rams or the 49ers in Week 15. So the Rams heading in the right direction, man. I think you're excited if you have some of these guys. And then I do believe Demarcus Robinson got hurt. Tutu Atwell filled in nicely. If D-Rob's out, Tutu Atwell is probably going to be in that wide receiver 4 mix for me if you need a deep wide receiver. Buffalo Bills, holy Josh Allen. I haven't seen a lot of 50-point fantasy games from a quarterback, but Josh Allen delivers here. Absolute gem in the loss. Khalil Shakir is his main man here, 5 for 106 and a touchdown. Mac Hollins continues to play well. I don't want to pick up Mac Hollins or start him, but he continues to play well. And then Curtis Samuel's running the better snaps and routes, but he's just not getting volume. But Amari Cooper got the volume in this one, 6 for 95. I think I'm ranking Shakir as like a wide receiver, a low-end wide receiver 2, a strong wide receiver 3 going forward, and Cooper's going to be a wide receiver 3 flex for me. So I'm excited if I have Cooper. And then who knows what's going on with Dawson Knox and Dalton Kincaid. If Kincaid can get back on the field, I still don't know if I'm going to start him. He just really hasn't been a big part of the offense as we had hoped. So if I'm starting Bills skill players, it's Shakir, it's Cooper. Obviously, you're playing James Cook. And honestly, I'm kind of disappointed. They're not using Ray Davis as much as I think they should be. Ty Johnson looks good as a receiving back here, but I'm still a little frustrated in the lack of Ray Davis usage. But pretty easy here for the Bills. Continue using what we've been using. And then the Sunday Night Football, kind of a sleepy game here. Chiefs 19, Chargers 17. Everybody kind of, hit their floors in this one. Mahomes just 14 points. Continues to have a low yards per attempt. He's just not really hitting the ball downfield. Worthy, though, stepping up, leads the team in snaps by a lot, most in routes. He's looking like a potential wide receiver 3 down the stretch here. He's starting to stack some consistency, 5 for 41. I'll take 9.6 points as one of my wide receiver 3 flexes. DeAndre Hopkins gets the touchdown in this one. He led the team in targets with 9. 4 for 32 and a touchdown. That's fine. You can keep using him as a wide receiver 3. I don't care about Watson, about Juju. Keep starting Travis Kelce, 5 for 45. But Noah Gray, man, if you guys are in a dynasty league and Noah Gray's out there, I'm open to picking him up because he looks like it could be a seamless transition to a startable tight end in the future here for Mahomes. And then the running back here. They're running 4 running backs. Pacheco's back to being the lead back, 14 carries, so he's the lead man again. And I think this is his floor going forward. He got a total of 16 touches in this one. 8 fantasy points, no touchdown, but I think better days are ahead for Pacheco. We're not starting Kareem Hunt or P. Ryan or anything anymore. It's clearly Pacheco's backfield again, as it looks like he's fully up to speed. And then Mahomes, I think I still want to rank him as a top 10, top 12 QB. So if you have him, still use him. I'll probably have him ranked, fairly highly this week again. But it's just not looking like the MVP seasons we've seen in the past from Mahomes. And then we're going to finish up with the Chargers here. No Ladd McConkey in this one, and it was kind of no problem. Herbert looked good dealing to Josh Palmer, Quentin Johnston. We did lose Will Dissly in this one. I'm not sure if he's going to be out for an extended period of time, but it looked like Dissly was going to have a nice game. He did have a solid first half, but really spreading the ball out here. And then look at the running backs here. We have Kamani Vidal leading the way in snaps and routes. He looks like the receiving back here for the Chargers going forward. 8 for 34 as a rusher. I want to pick up Kamani Vidal. He could be a guy that gets more work over the final playoff stretch here. And then Gus Edwards, just 10 for 36 and a touchdown. That's kind of what he is. He's going to be ranked in that Tank Bigsby tier for me, where he can get 10 to 12 carries. And if he doesn't get a touchdown, it's going to be 4 points. If he gets a touchdown, though, it's going to be 10 to 12 points. So he's the touchdown goal line back. But Kamani Vidal looks like he could get more work going forward. And then Herbert played well. They just, didn't really have the firepower to overcome the Chiefs. Josh Palmer looked good, 6 for 78. I think he could be a wide receiver 3 flex going forward. And same with Quentin Johnston, man. He's starting to be more consistent, 5 for 48 and a touchdown in this one. I like what I'm seeing in the second season. Keep trying these Chargers receivers. Obviously, when McConkey comes back, it'll change some things and these guys will be less consistent. But for now, those guys are working. We'll watch for Will Dissly's injury. If Dissly's out, maybe Stone Smart is the tight end to pick up here. He did go 13 routes, 3 for 54 as a receiver. So if you need a tight end, we'll monitor Dissly and look at Stone Smart. So there you have it. That is the full post-game notes for week number 14. I will be going live tomorrow night with the waiver wire program at 7 o'clock Central Time. So hanging out with me then. And then, we're back to our normal schedule. Wednesday night, we'll do our start sit program at 7 p.m. Central Time. And then Thursday night football, we'll go live at 6:30 p.m. Central Time. So we'll see you guys in one of those live streams. And I just want to say thank you for hanging out with me. Enjoy the rest of the Monday Night Football game. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.
Got me feeling icy.